So following your years in the plains, you retired in
Yeah.
2000.
Um, yeah, I guess it was.
2000,
Yeah, yeah,
2001,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
What led up to your retirement? Why did you decide to retire?
Well, um, I was tired, physically tired. I was, what was I, 86, 87, something like that. And I had, if I wanted to go back to work right now, I've got three gates I could make, or I've got a gate and two big sculptures I could do. No,
You were 66, right?
what?
In 2000. I'm talking about not today, but in 2000 when you
Oh,
retired from the planes.
oh, from the plane.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm back there.
Okay.
Yeah. What led up to that retirement?
Well, it was a move, not a retirement,
Okay.
and it was because I had too many people, too many visitors.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have enough room for the work I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was tired of driving, uh, but I wanted to do different work. I wanted to do sculptural work, and so moving here, where I didn't have, if you have to stop, if you're thinking through a process, and you're trying to design, and you're sketching on the table, and somebody comes in and says, "Oh, it's a blacksmith shop," boom, you're taken away from that whole um, process of the synapses reaching through
Yeah.
to do a different thing, to make something different, and you're just about to make that curve, and bam, and somebody wants to know what kind of coal was that, and it's a perfectly decent question, and it's an important question, but not to me at that moment. You know, I'm just trying to work out. I wrote a book called Lines in Space, and I talk a lot in that in different ways about what it is to be an artist, not what it means to be an artist, but how I am an artist and how I approach it. What are the peculiarities of it? And I have to sharpen the pencil, get the team right, spread the paper, put the music on, make sure the dog's set. Now let me pick up a pencil and make a line and start going from there and follow that through. It's a very private, very fragile moment. It's a scary moment. I mean, you can make it scary. It's not really scary, but it's scary if, am I going to come out with anything? Can I think of anything? Can I think this through? Can I stay with it long enough to go through all the tremors and come out the other side? And that's delicate, it's a very delicate time to create. All artists face it in different ways. And we don't give it enough credence. We don't give it, I don't mean that we have to bow down before it, but we have to allow its both time and space. Philosophers talk about this. Um, um, there's a couple of poets who I like, and they talk about it, the act of creativity. I mean, and sculpture. Sculpture is a line in space that defines the space. And how to find, what are you trying to define? What's the definition? Does it move you? Does it say something? And all that is so ephemeral. It's like fog in the morning before the sun comes out. It's like a spider's web. It's like a fleeting idea. Those images that come to you just before you wake up, and you think, "Oh, I'll remember that," but you don't. So it's deserving of space. So if you just sit there and do nothing, you're actually doing a lot of work. You're thinking about this, and that is very fleeting, very ephemeral. Someday I'll get the words for it. But.
So you felt that you needed more space to yourself.
I needed the space. I needed the time alone.
Mm-hmm. There was this little VHS tape, The Prophet of the Plains, that they made of you in the town.
That was a different... They were talking about...
They mentioned retirement.
Yeah. The Prophet of the Plains comes because I have that bent. I am not a philosopher, obviously, but I do think in those terms. I do think there's more out there in the world that I will never understand and that I do not understand, but I need to give credence to because it's in the world. I call it a spirit world. Call it I don't know how you relate. What is it? What creates a good relationship? Respect, honor, listening, love, thoughtfulness. All these create an atmosphere which you can create in. And sometimes you're creating alone, and sometimes you're creating together. And I did a lot of talking to people, listening to people. The minister there said, God has no hands. God works through people who have hands. And those hands may be hands, but they may be ears. They may be eyes to see. And so I have that bent. I have that curiosity or that willingness to listen. I like to listen. I like to find out. And so that's where the idea, and it's not a usual trait in people, I think. And so that's where the idea of prophet comes from that first filmmaker.
It was a good film.
Right?
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah. Yeah. All those two films, they've captured something in me which is not usually seen. And for that, I am thankful. Lots of people make iron. Lots of people listen. Lots of people, but they've captured a depth which is not often seen. If you just turn on the tube, you don't see it. You see ephemera. You see fleeting images which really don't mean a lot. They have no depth to them. They're peripheral. People either don't have the time or don't want to go below the surface. And those two people, in their own artistry, saw beneath the surface and captured it. So I'm extraordinarily grateful to them.
So you transitioned from the Plains to right here in Huntley.
Yeah. I'd lived here the whole time.
Okay.
Well, almost the whole time.
Was that transition all that you expected it to be?
Yeah, it was a good move.
Mm-hmm. Were there significant challenges moving your shop?
Yeah, it took me 6 weeks.
Oh, that's quick.
Well, I didn't have all the equipment then. I had 9.
So what have you done after you moved here? You've been here for 20 years. What's that period looked like for you?
Well, I branched out in my smithing. I became much more sculptural, whether it was a tabletop or landscape size. I did work which was different. I was known well enough so that I could support myself in a different, using the medium differently. I didn't have to make hooks again, which is not quite true, but yeah.
Did it get difficult for you the last 20 years as you got older?
Well,
and you're getting into more
sculptures. It's certainly. I mean, the work is, as you know, is extremely physical, and you can get things to. One of the first big sculptures, I needed to hold it because I needed to bend it as you would bend a stair railing in three directions at once. And the only thing that was solid enough was the front end loader. So I drilled holes in the bucket so I could bolt it to the tractor, which would hold it. And then two of us with big torches could heat it and bend it and so on. So yeah, it became, often the sculptures became a way of, how can I figure this out from an engineering standpoint? One of my big sculptures, well, several of them, I went to an engineering plant that had big rollers, 75-ton rollers, so you could take a sheet and cup it. And how do I, well, it was a little bit of a, how do I get standing in an engineering shop? The guys are good welders or good cutters, but they don't know anything about what I'm trying to do and why this is a good angle, but this isn't a good angle. And so they were very gracious. It worked fine.
Let's talk about that real briefly. People have asked me this question before. What's the difference between a welder, fabricator, and a blacksmith?
A fabricator takes the material. It can be any metal. It doesn't even have to be metal. It could be wood. And it's generally not shaped. I mean, it may be bent, but it's fabricated. It's put together by outside means. It may be nuts and bolts. It may be welding. It may be notched so it's fit together. It's smithing generally fastens thing, so the whole piece is an integral piece. It's all one piece together, usually by welding, but welding in the fire. And you don't see the big welding that wants to make anchors, for example. They're one piece of metal with the flukes and everything, but they welded in the fire. You don't see that anymore, but that's traditionally with that. So blacksmithing is usually forging pieces and then assembling them so that they become one piece. Fabrication is taking sheets, usually, maybe pipe, and cutting them and then welding them together in a pleasing way. Which was the other one? Fabricating, welding.
I think you covered it.
Okay, I think you had another one, but
or blacksmithing.
Yeah.
I think you covered it.
And it's just there's no right way. There's no, one is not. Well, forge welding a piece together, as in hinge work or something, might be better than arc welding. Because that kind of welding is generally around the outside of the piece. Whereas forge welding is taking the whole piece and slapping it together. So you got glue all through it, or it's one piece all through. And that might be stronger if it's a good weld, which you can't tell unless you wouldn't want to forge weld a oil distribution pipe because you can't tell whether it's solid all the way through. So it has to be done with arc welding, joining metal to metal to metal, and then x-ray it so you know it's solid and it won't burst, maybe.
So at some point you decided that you were finished. And you jumped ahead into that. Let's go back to that point.
Someplace I began to get physically tired, more tired, and would do less work. The handwriting was on the wall, when I started. You can only do this for so long because your body gives out. And my body, well, I'm not bedridden. I certainly couldn't hammer for 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day. It's given me other things I can do. I'm this healthy because I did hammer 4-6 hours a day. But I'm not going to do it now. It's time for me to put my feet up and do some other things. Read, paint, look, talk.
You stayed pretty healthy.
I am pretty healthy.
You're 88?
Yeah. I'm a couple of months I'll be 89. Mm-hmm. Physically, I have some issues which I have to worry about, and they're age-related, walking, balance, that kind of stuff.
What's your secret to good health?
What's my secret?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They asked Churchill that at one point, and he said, 2 fingers of scotch and naps. I like a good nap. I think I'm blessed with good genes, although I don't know why both my parents died very young. My siblings have been pretty healthy. I don't know why does one person live longer than another.
How does it make you feel right now, having decided that you're done with blacksmithing? What sort of thoughts go through your head?
Well, blacksmithing was my persona. I was, Nol Putnam, blacksmith, and I walked into a gallery there, everybody said, "You look familiar, do I know you?" And I said, "Well, I'm Nol Putnam." "Oh, you're the blacksmith." So I don't have that persona anymore. I'm not a blacksmith now. I'm an indolent ex-craftsperson. Do I miss it? Yes, I miss the idea of it. I don't miss having to do it. It's time for me to give it up. If I have other things to do, and I think I do, then I better do them because, at 89, at 88, I don't have a lot of years left. So if I'm going to do them, I better do them. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed that you walked into my shop and the conversation turned to tooling, and what are you going to do with them? First of all, I liked you immediately. Your demeanor and how you approached it, and you appreciated the tools and the history that goes with the tools. You appreciated that this is a continuum. you know, they had started in Egypt, but right now it's here in Virginia Piedmont or the Shenandoah Valley, so that you have a respect for the lineage of smithing. Um, I like that you too have a philosophical bent, at least in my thinking, a philosophical bent of it's not just how, but maybe why and how, and how did this come about? How did this get engineered or appear? Um, so I think I'm very fortunate that we blundered into each other and become friends, and I expect we'll be better friends next year, and so on.
I hope so.
Um, that I appreciate very much how you look at the craft of the craft, not just the tools per se, but how they develop, the sweat that came from my hand into the handle of those tools, and it will come in yours, or that came from Bill to me, to you. I appreciate this historical interest that you have in that. I don't know your family, but I appreciate your family, and um, I'd like to spend time more with your dad and mother, just because I find them interesting people, and your siblings. I mean, you're an interesting family. Um, you're interesting folks, um, and I click with that. I resonate with that, and so that makes it much easier to part with the tools, because I know that they're going not just to a good home, a good place, but one that they will be loved and taken care of, and when the time comes, they'll be passed lovingly on to somebody else, so they become part of the generational structure of smithing, the trade of smithing, the ancient and honorable trade of smithing, the meticulous blacksmiths, the guild of meticulous blacksmiths. I just appreciate all that.
What are your what are your plans moving forward? What are your plans?
Well, the plans are the plan. The first plan is to build a new little reasonable house. You know, this one's way too big for me. It's got too many stairs, and so for the next 6 months, my plan is to um, get that house built and move into it, and move out of this and sell this one and get my things, and then I will have the psychic space to see what I'm going to do. And I'm not sure how much it will involve my hands. I notice some, difficulty if I want to paint very fine things, that there's some, forgotten what you call it, but hard to get down there. So I have issues, health, balance issues, walking, and so on and so forth. But I write, and I want to paint, and so someplace in there, I've got a million books I haven't read. Well, I've got plenty to do as long as I can stay healthy to do it. But nothing is involved. I'm going to make a garden for one tomato plant and a zinnia. I'm not doing gardening. I'm going to be conscious of where and what I can do.
You mentioned books. You donated your books.
I donated my blacksmithing library. I had a pretty nice library. I had 1,200 volumes. The earliest book was 1840. It was a book of designs by Pugin, and I donated that to the College of Building Arts in Charleston. They have a very nice library with some beautiful, beautiful books. It would be worth a visit for you and Beth to go to Charleston at some point, yeah, for anybody. And it's a teaching university, so you can go there, and whatever your area of study, blacksmithing, stone carving, architectural drawing, you get a bachelor's degree, and you also get a degree in your craft. So you get a bachelor's degree and a separate paper in your thing. And I don't know about the other programs, but the blacksmithing is very well thought out. So I had an opportunity to teach there a little bit, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Now you've written 2 books.
Yes.
Beauty in the Shadows, which is the cathedral ironwork.
Right. Well, yes, that's all about the cathedral.
It's not about you specifically. It's about the cathedral.
No, it's about the cathedral ironwork.
But you authored it.
Yes.
And you did Lines and Spaces.
That's my puff piece.
Okay. And are you continuing to write? Do you have plans for another?
I am writing. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I have some pressure to take my journals from 50 years and synthesize them down into a book of my journals. It's drawings, paintings, words, thoughts, ideas, junk, and it would be a big project. And the question is whether I want to spend that much time on it, or have that much time to spend on it.
Journals were pretty important to you.
If I don't do it, I will give them to the library at the college, because they're when I started blacksmithing, it was just at the cusp of blacksmithing becoming popular. And so I'm in that generation in the middle of when nobody knew about blacksmithing to the Whole Earth catalog and the resurgence of Back to the Land movement of the 60s and 70s. And now that generation, like Pete Renzetti, we're all getting to where we have to. Pete does all his work sitting down. I choose to leave it, but we're all at that point, and the whole new generation, and it's amazing what they're doing. The work they're doing was incredible. Is incredible. It's mind blowing. They've taken what we did and leapfrogged. They've gone miles ahead. It's stunning.
Is there a up and comer that sticks out to you?
People say, "Oh, that's a dying art." Like hell, it's a dying art. It's more popular than ever. So, yeah.